So if you have the best defense in the NFL, the automatic question is, can the 49ers defense carry them to a Super Bowl? Then you take it a step further and you say, in the modern NFL, is it possible for a defense to carry a team to a Super Bowl, right? The last defensive-driven Super Bowl team we saw was the no-fly zone defense with the 2015 Broncos, featuring Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware and Aqib Talib and Chris Harris Jr., TJ Ward, Darian Stewart. You can go down the list. They had a lot of really, really good players. Malik Jackson, Derek Wolfe. And then before that, the 2012 Seahawks with, of course, the Legion of Boom, Michael Bennett, Cliff Averill, Bruce Irvin, Bobby Wagner, of course. And then before that, you have to go back to maybe the Patriots, but they had Tom Brady. So I think even though a lot of those early Super Bowls were driven by the defense with like Rodney Harrison, Seymour, Will Fork, Ty Law, those type of guys, a lot of people look at it and say Brady still kind of won those games late, so maybe not. The 0-2 Bucks for sure, the 2000 Ravens. But the point is, you have to be one of the greatest defenses we've ever seen for you to be a team that wins the Super Bowl because of your defense, right? And right now, the Niners offense hasn't played really well. So a lot of people are asking this question. I actually think this question is premature right now. I think the Niners offense is going to find a rhythm, and I think it's going to end up way more respectable amongst league rankings than people think. This game against Carolina, I think, is a great opportunity for the offense to put up numbers. The next game against Atlanta, Dean Pease is a really creative coach, but Atlanta still has a little bit of a talent discrepancy on their defense. So I think there's opportunities here for the Niners offense to get going. I don't think they're going to have an offense that's like the Trent Dilfer 2000 Ravens or even like the Brad Johnson 2002 Bucks. I think it's going to be a little bit better than that, especially because of how good Debo is, how good Ayuk is. I think Kittle is going to get more involved into this offense. I don't think he's just automatically shunned. I think it just takes time for this offense to find rhythm. They didn't practice any of this with Garoppolo. As much as that's not an excuse for how poor his play was against Denver, it is a reason for why, this Niners offense isn't looking fully in sync. If you look around the NFL, offenses in general are not playing with great sync. A lot of people aren't playing in preseason. Practice rules are giving less reps, and offense requires more reps than defense because so much of offense is based on timing and knowing where someone's going to be at the exact right time, and that takes time and reps as well. So I do think the Niners offense is going to be better. But is the Niners defense that level of iconic defense? Statistically, they're showing they are right now, right? The 3.8 yards per play is an insane stat. That's the stat that reflects that, it's amongst the Niners, the 2000 Ravens, the 2002 Bucks. When I was originally thinking about this topic, the first thing I thought was, well, the Niners defense has to take this team to win a Super Bowl to be looked at that way, right? That was the first reaction. If they don't do that, you can't be looked at that way. Then my reaction was, well, when you want to talk about the 2000 Ravens, you're talking about Ray Lewis, and you're talking about, some of the greatest defensive players in NFL history. When you're talking about the 0-2 Bucks, you're talking about 5 Hall of Famers. You're talking about Simeon Rice, Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks, Rondé Barber, John Lynch. When you're talking about the 13 Seahawks, Legion of Boom, Richard Sherman's going to be in the Hall of Fame. Earl Thomas will be in the Hall of Fame. Wagner is going to be in the Hall of Fame. Michael Bennett was fantastic for an extended period of time. KJ Wright was really good for a long time. Cam Chancellor was terrific for the time that he played. So because of all of that, I looked at it and I was like, do the Niners really have those kinds of players? And they actually do. Nick Bosa is, right now he's got a Hall of Fame start to his career. So does Fred Warner. Eric Armstead is a really good player. He's a Pro Bowl level player. Then you go down the defensive line. The Niners have a lot of guys that would start on other teams like Charles Omenihu, but they don't. Kevin Givens. They don't start because they're part of the defensive line in the NFL. You look at the line, you look at the safeties, right? Jimmy Ward's a terrific player when he's back. Talanoa Hufanga right now, he should be in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation. He's everywhere. He's got a lot of tackles for a loss. He's got a couple of interceptions. He's got a couple pass deflections. He is making plays everywhere. He's in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation. It's too young in his career to project where it could end up. But right now, a 5th-round rookie who through 4 games is playing amongst the best at his position in football. The sky is really the limit for how good he's going to be. So when you're talking about all of those things, and then, of course, Mooney Ward's a Pro Bowl level corner, so is Emmanuel Mosley. The Niners' names on their defense might not have the same cachet as some of these other defenses we're talking about. And part of that is their brand going, right? That cachet will be there for these guys if they have an iconic playoffs and the Niners make it to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl behind the defense. So I'm fully aware of that. And it's kind of a push and pull and a give and take with that. But at the same time, I actually have changed my mind a little bit on this. Do I think the Niners defense should be in the conversation with those all-time great defenses right now? No, because they have to have a resume, a bit of evidence in the playoffs, winning the Super Bowl to prove that they are in the same level of those defense in terms of legacy, talent, all of it. But do I think this Niners defense is capable of taking them to the Super Bowl? I do. I think that's where I've changed my outlook on this conversation, right? I think a lot of people here know that I'm a guy that doesn't believe the Niners can win a Super Bowl with Garoppolo. I think that the level of quarterback that he is, I think it's really hard to win the Super Bowl. With this defense, I think they are capable of winning the Super Bowl. And I think the big difference with this defense compared to even 2019, where they did take the ball away, is they take the ball away and they're finding ways to score on defense and special teams. They now have 2 defense and special teams. No, excuse me. They only have the 1 defense touchdown, but they're still finding a way to score on defense. So that kind of ruins my point, excuse me. But still, I think it's the fact that they're continuing to find take the ball away. I think this is the most multiple the Niners defense has been. It was exceptionally creative last year, but it's even more creative. I mean, they blitzed the most I've ever seen them really blitz under DeMeco Ryans yesterday. And the pressures are really, really creative. DeMeco Ryans does an incredible job on third downs, especially because now you don't know if the Niners are going to just play zone, because they're capable of just lining up and playing man coverage with Ward and Mosley. And Lenore had a really good rep in man against Cooper Kupp yesterday. And then when Jimmy Ward comes back. So because they're capable of that, the Niners have so much diversity in their defense. DeMeco Ryans is the sim pressure master. He'll put 7 guys on the line of scrimmage and 2 will come from the right and he'll drop 2 from the left. It's really a 4-man pressure, but the quarterback's rhythm and the entire protection plan is messed up. And then he'll do some insane things with how they play coverage, how late their rotations are, how they rotate, the way they make their pre-snap looks look the same. It's unbelievable how well they're playing, how organized they're playing. I do think it's a defense capable of carrying them to the Super Bowl. I think that it matches up well with offenses like the Bills. Like, yeah, Josh Allen is Superman, but right now the Bills' offense is very one-dimensional to me. I have questions about whether they can run the ball in close games and win close games. If you're one-dimensional against the Niners defense with that pass rush, with that coverage unit, it's a tough place to be, even if you have Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. If I look at the Chiefs with Tyreek Hill, I think it would scare me, and I would say, no, Niners defense could not win a Super Bowl because Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, they're just too special to go with Mahomes. But now without Tyreek Hill, I think the Chiefs are still the best team in the NFL. I think Mahomes is still the best quarterback in the NFL. But I don't think there's anything that should really make the Niners defense be so scared that they can't cover. Even if they do everything right, Tyreek Hill can screw things up. I don't think that's the case. There's anybody like that on the Chiefs offense. So I look at the outlook of the NFL where I look at the 2 best offenses and I feel like that. And then I look at the talent on this defense. I look at how good the scheme is with DeMeco Ryans and how creative they are and multiple they are. I do think this is a defense capable of carrying them to a Super Bowl. It's going to be definitely something that's fluid in terms of how you look at it, depending on who's healthy, depending on how well they're playing at the time. Right now, given how they're playing, right now, given how Ryans is coaching, and right now, given who we think is going to be healthy and who is already healthy and playing really well, I do think that this is a defense capable of carrying them to the Super Bowl. And that's actually a different outlook I've had compared to years past, especially with the Jimmy Garoppolo-led Niners. So I'm way more excited to see how this season ends up, because this defense, to me, is the best defense that we've seen under Kyle Shanahan.